The wind shrieked outside the glass-paneled walls of my father's lakeside villa in Vermont, but it was nothing compared to the tempest simmering in that dining room. "Congratulations, Ryan," my father said, sliding a thick envelope across the table to my younger brother. "You've earned it." The deed to the villa, the company, the offshore accounts, it was all his. I sat quietly across the oak table, 34 years old and suddenly feeling 10, palms icy against my slacks as I fought to stay composed. Ryan avoided my eyes, lips tight, gaze downcast, while my stepmother toyed with her necklace, staring at the floor. Then my father turned to me. "And you, Ava," he sneered. "You've always been a dreamer, weak, too sentimental to survive in the real world." My stomach sank. There were 4 others in the room: him, Ryan, my stepmother, and the attorney. But somehow I felt completely alone. He shoved a stack of papers toward the man in the suit. "Let's get this signed." "Dad," I croaked, "please don't." He rolled his eyes. "Spare me, Ava. You chose to leave. You wanted to find purpose, remember?" He raised his fingers in mocking air quotes. "You walked away from this family to work in some clinic overseas. And for what? No money, no title, just wasted time." "You never asked why I left," I whispered. "You never cared. And I still don't," he snapped. "Because Ryan was here. Ryan showed loyalty. He gave you what you wanted to see," I said quietly. "But he lied to you." My father laughed, bitter. "That's jealousy speaking." The attorney, a gray-haired man named Mr. Whitman, shifted uncomfortably, fingers gripping the folder. "Actually," he said, clearing his throat, "before anyone signs, there's something you should know." My father frowned. "What is it?" Mr. Whitman met his gaze directly. "There's a sealed amendment to the will, added 6 years ago at your late mother's request." My heart leapt. My grandmother, the only one who ever truly saw me, the one who used to say, "I had more strength in my silence than most had in their loudest moments." "What amendment?" my father snapped, irritation rising. Mr. Whitman calmly opened the leather folder and withdrew a yellowed document. "This was filed during your mother's final appointment with the notary. Her instructions were clear. It was to remain sealed unless you ever attempted to disinherit Ava." "Hey, hey." My father's face twitched. "That's absurd. She had no such authority." "She did," Mr. Whitman replied, firmer. "She retained 51% ownership in Harborest Holdings until the day she passed, and you never challenged it. Legally, she had every right." Ryan shifted. My stepmother froze, hands on the diamond pendant she always wore when she needed to feel powerful. Mr. Whitman turned to me. "Miss Ava, would you like to read it yourself? Or shall I?" I didn't move, eyes fixed on the envelope in Ryan's hand, the one holding everything my father believed he controlled. "Read it," I said softly. He cleared his throat and unfolded the page. "In the event that my granddaughter Ava Whitmore is deemed unworthy by her father, I hereby grant her full authority over my share of Harborcrest Holdings to be enacted immediately. All voting rights are to be transferred to her name upon activation of this clause. This amendment shall override any previous agreements regarding decision-making or ownership within the company or family estate." Silence. Only the soft patter of rain against the windows, as if even the storm were holding its breath. "What the hell does that mean?" my father barked. "It means," Mr. Whitman said, turning to me, "that your daughter is now the majority shareholder. Nothing you sign today can override that." My father shot to his feet. The chair screeched back. "This is absurd. She doesn't even understand the business." "Maybe not your version of it," I said, standing, voice calm but firm. "But I know how to lead, how to protect, how to build without tearing people down." I stepped closer. "You said I was useless, but I never needed your validation." I turned to Mr. Whitman. Let's move forward. We have a company to run. Ryan stared at the table. My stepmother opened her mouth, then stayed silent. My father never sat back down. The room held a thick stillness, louder than any argument, as the world he thought he controlled shifted beneath him. He remained upright, lips tight, jaw clenched, knuckles white around the chair he had pushed back. And for the first time, I saw something I'd never seen in his eyes. Fear. Not the kind that lashes out, but the kind that seeps in. The deep, quiet terror of losing what he never imagined he'd have to fight for. "Please sit," I said gently, not to shame him, not for revenge. I only wanted what had been denied to me for decades. Dignity. He did not move. Finally, Ryan spoke. "Wait. This isn't right. She left. She wanted no part in the business. She ran off to help people or something." "I built homes for women escaping abuse," I said evenly. "I funded transitional housing for veterans. I didn't run away. I ran toward something that mattered." He scoffed. "That's nice, but you don't know how to run Harbor Cross." "I know enough," I said, locking eyes with him, "to know you've been skimming funds through a shell corporation under your college roommate's name." Ryan paled. My stepmother gasped. "Ava, stop. This is family." "Was it family?" I asked, voice cracking. "When you watched him call me a failure, when he handed everything to Ryan without recognizing my sacrifices, you were never built for this world," she whispered. "No," I nodded. "You all made that clear. But Grandma thought differently." Mr. Whitman cleared his throat. "Miss Ava, your grandmother didn't just leave you shares. She left something else, meant to be given only after this moment." He opened his briefcase and produced a small, weathered box. Inside lay her old gold-plated compass, and beneath it, a folded letter in my grandmother's delicate script. My fingers trembled as I unfolded it. "My dearest Ava, if you're reading this, it means your father has done exactly what I feared. Don't hate him. He's a product of a world that values power over everything. You were never weak. You were the quiet strength that held us together. This compass is yours because no matter what path you take, I trust you to lead." Tears threatened, but I blinked them back. I turned to Mr. Whitman. "Let's proceed." As I signed the acknowledgement of my controlling stake, my father finally spoke. "You think this makes you powerful?" he said, voice low. "You think she gave you this out of love? She did it to spite me." I looked at him, really looked, not as a daughter seeking approval, but as a woman seeing the truth. "No," I replied. "She did it because she believed in me, and she knew I'd use this power to build, not break." I walked out with my head high, years of rejection falling from my shoulders like rust, but what awaited outside wasn't peace. It was war. Power brings enemies, and Ryan wasn't finished. I had barely reached the corridor when I heard footsteps. "Ava," he called. I turned. His voice was calm, but his eyes were calculating. "You don't have to do this," he said. "Do what?" "Push me out," he shrugged. "That's your next move, right?" "I haven't made a move," I said quietly. I simply stood. He chuckled. "You think signing some papers makes you powerful? You don't have the backbone to lead." My heart pounded, but I didn't flinch. "I'm not here to prove myself to you, Ryan. I'm here to lead with integrity, something this family forgot." He stepped closer. "I give you 2 months," he sneered, "before you crawl back. The company's not a charity." "It's a platform?" I replied, lifting my chin. "And I'll use it. To build, not break." "You really are naive," he muttered, shaking his head before turning away. But the way he left stuck with me. Clenched fists, stiff shoulders. This wasn't surrender. It was just the beginning. The next few days moved like storm clouds rolling in. Word traveled fast. Ava Whitmore was back, and this time she wasn't visiting. People whispered my name like a ghost story, some hopeful, some afraid. I didn't fire anyone, didn't hold flashy meetings. I listened. And what I discovered was worse than I imagined. Departments were turned against each other. Promotions were based on loyalty, not merit. Employee burnout ignored. This wasn't a business. It was a kingdom, and Ryan had trained under the king. One afternoon, I entered the break room. Conversation froze. "Please," I said, raising my hand. "You're on break. Sit. Eat." Rosa, a janitor, stood slowly. "We weren't allowed to sit if Mr. Ryan walked in." I blinked. "That changes today." Her face softened. That night, I stayed late reviewing reports. I found 3 misused budgets, a shady deal with a questionable supplier, and a list of employees fired after raising concerns. This wasn't mismanagement. It was rot. If I didn't act fast, I'd be blamed when it all fell apart. The next morning, Ryan stormed into my office, folder in hand. "You want the CEO seat?" he snapped. "Let's see you survive this." He tossed it on my desk. Screenshots, emails, photos. "These are fake," I said, flipping through. "Can you prove it?" He smirked. "You really want to destroy me?" "I want what's mine," he hissed. "You were never meant to win." I stood slowly. "I don't want to win, Ryan. I want to fix what you broke." "I see power," he sneered. "You see weakness." Then he turned and walked out. And I realized this wasn't rivalry. It was war. But I had something Ryan didn't. The truth. Within 48 hours, headlines flooded in. New CEO accused in charity fraud, family feud at Harborcrest Holdings, Ava Whitmore, legacy leader or liability. It didn't matter that it was fake. The public didn't wait for the truth. My inbox exploded with PR alerts. My phone wouldn't stop. Shareholders were panicking. I had barely begun, and I was already bleeding credibility. I told myself to stay calm, but late one night, locked in my office, I broke. Not loud, not messy, just silent sobs curled on the couch. I wasn't crying because they didn't believe me. I was crying because maybe, just maybe, my father had been right. Maybe I wasn't cut out for this. Then came a soft knock. I wiped my eyes quickly. The door opened anyway. Rosa stood there with a paper cup. "Thought you could use this." "You didn't have to," I whispered. "You looked like you needed it," she said, walking in. No one ever brought me anything when I cried in this room, so maybe someone should break the cycle. Something inside me cracked again, but softer this time. "Thank you," I said. She sat across from me. "Miss Ava," she said gently, "do you want to know the truth about your family?" I looked up, unsure. She nodded. "I've worked here 28 years. I've seen more than most, and I've seen what they hide. You always looked me in the eye." I couldn't speak, throat tight. "You may feel alone now," she continued, "but you have something they'll never have. Loyalty earned through kindness." I blinked, steadying my breath. "Why are you helping me?" "Because someone once helped me when no one else did." She smiled. "And because this company doesn't need another king, it needs a healer." The next morning, I walked into the boardroom with quiet resolve. I let them speak first. Accusations, doubts, demands for resignation, even threats of lawsuits. When they were done, I stood. "If anyone here can prove those documents are real," I said clearly, "I'll step down today." Silence. Then I dropped the original reports on the table, evidence of Ryan's financial misconduct, hush money side deals. I turned on the projector. Footage played. Ryan entering a locked office, plugging in a USB, transferring files. The timestamp matched the creation of the forged documents. No one spoke. "Truth matters," I said, But I didn't come here to destroy my brother. I came to repair what he broke. I turned to the company attorney. My grandmother gave me this role, not because I'm perfect, but because I still believe in people, even those who hurt me. I'm not pressing charges, but Ryan is suspended, and a full investigation will proceed. Stunned expressions followed. Then Mr. Halpern, a retired board member, stood. I doubted you, he said. Thought you were just another idealist. But today, you reminded me why we built this company. It was about people, not power. Just like that, the energy in the room shifted. Ryan didn't come back. But 2 days later, I received a letter in his handwriting. Ava, I don't expect forgiveness. I didn't just want control. I wanted to be seen. I always thought you got the love I never did. Maybe you just earned it differently. I folded the letter and placed it beside my grandmother's compass. Not every ending needs a sword. Some arrive in stillness, and some beginnings are born from grace. The office felt different now. Not quieter, but awake. It had been a month since the boardroom turned, and the media retracted the false claims. Some tried to call it luck, but those who mattered saw the truth. Not because I shouted louder, but because I held the line with integrity. One person, though, still hadn't reached out. My father. No messages, no lawyers, nothing. I assumed he'd vanished to lick his wounds and blame the world. Until one Sunday morning, I walked into my office, and there he was, sitting across from my desk, hands folded, eyes dull. I had to see it, he said. See what? That's you. You didn't burn it down. I said nothing. He looked older, tired, no longer a man in control, but someone who'd lost something that mattered. You were right, he said softly. About me? About Ryan? About how this place stopped being about people? I studied him, unsure if I could believe it yet. Why now? I asked. He pulled something from his coat, a photo of me and Grandma. I was 12, covered in paint. She was laughing. She said you'd change this family, he whispered. I just didn't want to believe it. If I did, I said gently, it's because she believed in me. He nodded. I came to say something I should have said long ago. He met my eyes. I'm sorry, Ava, for everything. Part of me wanted to say it was too late, but healing doesn't start with blame. It starts when someone finally breaks the cycle. I nodded. Thank you. I just needed to say it before I ran out of time, my father said. Then don't, I replied gently. Fix what you can. It's not too late. He didn't respond, just gave me one last quiet look before slipping out the door. 2 weeks later, Rosa stepped into my office with a folder. What's this? I asked. A list of every employee your father let go for speaking up, she said softly. Figured you'd want to see it? I opened the file, read every name, and we sent letters, each an invitation to return. No questions asked, not for my redemption, but because legacy isn't built on bloodlines. It's built on how you make people feel when you leave the room. Months passed. The company didn't look flashier, but it felt warmer. Ryan never returned, though we met once for coffee. No apologies, no digging into the past. Just two siblings trying to understand each other. Maybe that was enough. My father kept his distance, but one day I received a receipt. A 7-figure donation in my name to the women's shelter where I once worked. No note, no signature, just his quiet way of saying he was trying. And that was enough. Because I didn't get revenge, I got something stronger. Respect, peace, and a future no one could take away. Now, when I walk into that boardroom, I don't hear whispers. I hear footsteps of people who believe in me. All because one day someone said I was nothing, and I proved them wrong without becoming them. If my story moved you, drop a comment below. Tell me what part hit hardest, what you would have done. I read every word because connection is what this journey has always been about. And if you're facing your own version of being underestimated, know this. You don't have to shout to be heard. You just have to stand steady in your truth. Subscribe to the channel if you believe in healing through strength and strength through kindness, because sometimes the quietest ones carry the loudest legacies.